Well, we've got Deeptika Laurent with us on the set now to take a look at how the papers have been reacting to the latest out of Ukraine. And Deepti, you're starting with those awful, awful pictures, that horrific reaction to that airstrike on a Mariupol maternity hospital in Ukraine.
That's right, and the descriptors are myriad today in the British papers. Jeannie, look at this. Look at this. There's a picture. We've managed to put all of the front pages of the British dailies together. Barbaric, the Daily Mirror says. Evil upon evil, that's from The Sun. Depraved from the Daily Mail. The Eye showing us an injured, expectant mother being escorted out of the blast zone. The outrage, the horror is palpable across the British daily papers today, across the British front pages today, but also across the European dailies. Bombs on children, that's what the Italian daily La Stampa says rather furiously on its front page, calling the airstrike a heinous crime. The Spanish daily La Razón goes with a picture that's been splashed across much of the Spanish press today, a picture of an injured woman being carried out by emergency workers. An atrocious attack, they say. The Scottish Herald's cartoonist Stephen Camley, he's opting for sarcasm in his illustration today as he imagines how RT, the banned Kremlin-backed TV channel, would report the bombing. Brave Russian troops are targeting the next generation of neo-Nazis in a maternity hospital.
Now, EU leaders today are meeting in Versailles. We were just talking about that a moment ago, against this backdrop of the increasingly bloody war in Ukraine.
And that's exactly what Le Soir, the Belgian paper, says, Jeannie, a Versailles summit to stop the horror. The paper saying that once again, war appears like the only thing that can bring about fundamental changes. Perhaps it adds disdainfully, Europe could have avoided this war if its leaders had invested more in Russian society than Russian gas in the past 2 decades. The French paper La Croix, meanwhile, calls it the year zero of a new Europe, a defensive Europe, among them Germany, which of course is planning to spend more than 100 billion euros to modernize its military forces.
Now, Deepti, this new defensive Europe's not quite up to the taste of all the papers.
Well, the editors at L'Humanité, the French communist paper, warned today that we shouldn't be seduced by this idea of a defensive Europe. It will not bring about political sovereignty, as some people hope. It will only enmesh the EU deeper into a military strategy that will take precedence over diplomacy and international law, they say.
Now, the war in Ukraine has ripped families apart, and you found a photo essay from the New York Times today from one Ukrainian man who lost his entire family.
Well, it's a really poignant article from the New York Times, Jeannie, and it really brings the human cost of this war to a tragic reality. This is Sergei Perebyinis. He lost his wife and 2 children to a mortar shell in Irpin outside of Kyiv. The article talks about how he and his wife were high school sweethearts. He's a computer programmer. She was an accountant. He'd been actually tending away to his ill mother when his family were killed. They'd already been displaced once in 2014. They were living in Donetsk at the time, and they'd moved to Kyiv to rebuild their lives. Perebyinis publishes his own family photos in this article from New York Times, which is well worth a read to get the human cost of this war.
It's really so tragic. Well, Russia's invasion has prompted some countries to actually make some changes, changing the names of streets in honor of the Ukrainian resistance.
And those streets are the streets leading to the Russian embassies in those respective countries, Jeannie. The Lithuanian capital of Vilnius has announced it will name the street. There's a small street leading to the Russian embassy. It's going to be called Ukrainian Heroes Street. The mayor said in a statement that everyone will have to think about the atrocities of the Russian regime against peaceful Ukrainians when writing this street name. Meanwhile, the Latvian capital of Riga is renaming the Russian embassy street there to Independent Ukraine Street. There are also calls for the London borough of Kensington and Chelsea to rename the location of its Russian embassy there to Zelensky Avenue, of course, in honor of the Ukrainian president.
Okay, Deepti, we're going to finish with something completely different, but something that's very important for the sports world, particularly for football fans here in Paris. The team PSG, Paris Saint Germain, was knocked out of the Champions League thanks to a stunning second-half comeback by Real Madrid.
That's right. Paris Saint Germain's elusive search for a Champions League trophy has once again ended, Jeannie. Despite a goal from Kylian Mbappe, the Paris side were knocked out thanks to this man, Mbappe's French teammate Karim Benzema, who scored 3 goals to end Paris Saint Germain's chances. Paris Saint Germain were punished by the King Benzema. The French sports paper L'Equipe says on its front page. The Spanish paper Marca savors Real Madrid's victory. This is Madrid, it says on its front page, in a not so subtle dig at PSG's supporter slogan, Ici c'est Paris, or Here is Paris.
Deepti, thanks so much for that. Deepti, go on with your look at what's been being said in the papers and the media today about the crisis in Ukraine, but other things as well. You are watching France 24. Do stay with us. I'll be back in about 6 minutes with more of our continuing coverage of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.